started. It is so wonderful to see everyone here, familiar faces and new faces. And I'm honored to welcome for our candle lighting tonight, my dear friend, Yosef Abramowitz, who is Zooming in from Jerusalem. It is a little bit after midnight there now. And I invited Yossi when, so I was in Israel a few weeks ago, as some of you know, visiting, and I sort of consider one of the rooms in their house sort of my honorary bedroom. It's always where I stay. And Yossi was sort of giving me an update on the amazing work he's doing. He'll tell you more about this, but he's, well, I won't do the whole bio, but he was president of the Arava Power Company for several years and is president and CEO of an investment platform, something called Energiya Global Capital, which finances green energy projects in sub-Saharan Africa. He's also been very involved in solar energy in Israel, and he was telling me on my recent visit about a project he's been working on in Gaza as well with a Gazan partner. And so when we decided to plan this series of Zooms, I thought, what a beautiful way to end this series of celebrations of light in the midst of darkness, and hope in the midst of a lot of feelings of hopelessness that we're struggling with. What a beautiful thing to hear a little bit about the work that he's doing from Yossi, which is most certainly about bringing light into a world that can sometimes feel pretty dark. So Yossi is going to share just some words about the work that he's doing and sense of its connection to Hanukkah, and then I'll just say a word and we'll close with lighting candles together. And it's we have a full Hanukkah tonight, all 8 candles.
Well, it's amazing to be here. I'm a Boston boy, born, not born in Boston, but product of the Boston Jewish community.
Wait, I proudly have to say he's a graduate of Prostor of Hebrew College.
That's right. I even did 2 years at the college, and very proudly we got to host Rabbi Lisa Feld for a year in Jerusalem. Thrilled that you're here. So thank you for joining.
A delight.
Yeah. So look, these are dark days, right? This is the darkest period anyway in the Northern Hemisphere. And it's so interesting that so many of the holidays of the different religions are festivals of light during these dark times. Then you add war and anti-Semitism and all those things on it. The layers of darkness are heavier. And what's interesting is that we intrinsically feel that there's a connection between light and hope, especially now. And Rashi actually is a little bit puzzled by the light of creation. It's like, wait a second, the sun was only on the 4th day. So how do you have a or being the first? And his explanation is that it's the light of understanding, right? It's the light of wisdom. It's sort of the truth with a capital T. And only later the photons kind of get introduced. But intrinsically, I think we all feel there's a connection between light and hope, and light and understanding. I guess for half my life, I was doing spreading a different kind of light, which is in Jewish education, in different kinds of ways. And then we moved from Boston, only for 2 years, Sharon, to Kibbutz Keturah, where there you are, which is a beautiful ideological community down in the Arava desert. And we got there in August, and it was really hot and sunny. And I learned very quickly that there wasn't a single kilowatt of solar energy on the grid in Israel. And so I was hit with this vision of, wouldn't it be great if Israel would be a renewable light onto the nations, right? It was around when Al Gore came out with the film and won the Nobel. And the idea was, could we get from the Red Sea to the Dead Sea, the first region in the world to be 100% solar? And the answer then was no. Everyone said no. And sort of like there's negative energy and positive energy, right? And the positive is the light, the negative is the darkness, just kind of in classic mythology. To cut a very long story short, I was very privileged to be part of the team that when Rachel, leaves her room tomorrow and leaves the air conditioning on and all the lights on at Kibbutz Keturah, it's actually not adding to any greenhouse gases because 150% today of the Red Sea, that's in the Red Sea. The Red Sea to the Dead Sea is solar, and that's really meant not only as an affirmative example, but a rebuke of the international community. Just back now from Dubai, from the United Nations COP28, which has basically been taken over by the oil countries, the oil and gas countries, and the oil and gas companies. And they have goals towards 2050, so they can make a couple $100 trillion or more. And saying, no, you need basically a go slow approach. And we already hit in the RFM the futuristic goals for 2050. And it's a tochecha. But we're proud to have done that and to do it in the name of the Jewish people and to do it as an educator doing solar power to bring light and different levels of understanding. What's nice about Keturah is that the Arava Institute is there, meaning there are Jordanian, Palestinian, Jewish, Israeli, Arab, Israeli international students there. And so our vision was always to not just do impact investments and make some money and do good, but we wanted also a peace dividend. And so the seeds were planted very early about the sun not recognizing these ridiculous borders and the issues that it represents. And that maybe our own sense of understanding and hope can also transcend borders. And the other so there's the regional, let's call it, and then we're building the first field at Keturah, and people came from 58 poor countries, mostly in Africa, and said, hey, Startup Nation. They didn't say bring your light, but they basically said, come, help us out. They meant bring your light, bring your understanding, bring your technology, bring your values, because no one else is going to do it. And I learned my sense of understanding expanded in these interactions. In Africa, there's 600 million people without power.
Oh.
Now, the biggest number that I can picture legitimately is 37,500 because that's Fenway Park when it's full, right? That's my experience. So the notion of 600 million people is unfathomable. I don't know how many times Fenway fits into that equation. But it also means level of human dignity and people being able just to.
This is where we're going.
Yeah.
Or Tuesday night or whatever.
Beautiful,
next
right?
week. This is where they're coming tonight.
So if someone has they want to turn their mic off, you're invited to do so, or administrator.
Looking to see if I can, but if you have your mute if you're able.
But no one had ever brought this kind of light to Africa. There's no utility scale solar fields in Africa. And so, we learn in Isaiah that we're supposed to be a light, right? But Isaiah also teaches us something else. We have to care for the orphan, the widow, and the stranger. And so the first African country that we decided to partner with is Rwanda after their genocide. There's an orphan youth village built on Israeli youth villages called Agalos Shalom. 500 orphans from the genocide, from the Tutsis and the Hutus, from the perpetrators and the victims. And they're organized in houses, and 16 kids per house. And there's a house mother, and she's usually a widow from the genocide. And so doing a solar field there and being able to have the revenue help support an orphan youth village, to me was really the highest fulfillment of the Isaiah call to be a light and to take care of the orphan, the widow, and the stranger. And everyone said it was impossible. And the first solar field in all of Africa we built, a little group in Jerusalem, that was doing 6% of Rwanda's power at the time. And then we just finished a field in Burundi, which is at the top of the State Department's genocide watch list as well. We're doing 10% of their power, the poorest country on the planet. The move to sub-Saharan Africa kind of taught me about how you deal with very difficult places. And we frankly failed mostly in the West Bank because of corruption. But in Gaza, we have a really good partner where the trust is deep and where the needs are much greater, both for water and for energy. And the whole world just talks and throws money at bad projects. In the end, my friend and partner, Tahani Abu Daka, we built the first Gazan solar field, and it was ready a little before the war. And when the war broke out, we were going to connect it to the nearby hospital. But a couple of days before the ceasefire is badly damaged. We're not sure which side, doesn't really matter. We did a piece in Newsweek. If I was organized, I'd put it in the chat, but someone can look up my name in Newsweek or Tahani.
I can send around the link afterwards to people.
And in the midst of this war, you have a Gazan and an Israeli teaming up, putting forward a vision for Gaza that would actually be able to supply clean energy, not using diesel, which you keep hearing about, clean water through the cooperation. And she's really courageous. We were working very hard to get her and her parents out, her elderly parents in their 90s. I know it's being recorded, but just don't share this information. And we just did a operation tonight, and parents just crossed the border, which is great. She's still there, and we're working on trying to get her out. Because after this whole terrible thing is over, you got to work with people. And you want to work with people who want to work with you, who actually care about their own people as well. And that's what we found in Africa as well. So I guess I went from being a Jewish educator, trying to say that Jewish values were important, and activism is important. But there's a lot of darkness in the world. And I feel fortunate that I've split my career in a sense of trying to say this is what the Jewish people believe, trying to get that out, and then being out there kind of on the front lines. Banu choshech legaresh, like we're here to chase out the darkness. Beyadenu or ve'esh. So or ve'esh I don't like, of course, because of the carbon, because of the smoke. And the Hanukkah, metaphor of, a little bit of oil lasting for 8 nights is the opposite of as well. It just came from Dubai, right before Hanukkah. It doesn't work. But the kol echadu or katan, they were each one small light. And so this sense of powerlessness in the face of all these big things, we do have to remember that kulanu oritan, that when we really do come together, I feel very fortunate in my life that I have a good team and good donors and good investors and people around me, and that there are enough good people in the world. I'm telling you, like my friend in Gaza, like we can do a lot of very good things together, and we already have other things that we didn't even talk about. And so there's enough of us, but the kulanu has to be biyachad. We have to bring the forces of light together to be able to persevere against a lot of darkness.
Amen, amen, amen. Yossi, thank you so much for being with us and for the work you're doing. And I will just say, I I remember when Yossi came back from Kibbutz Keturah on one visit and was sitting at our dining room table and said, I think I'm going to start a solar energy company. And Shimmy and I were like, you don't know what you're talking about. You know, we were among the naysayers. You don't know anything about this. Anyway, and so I think what I want to say just as we light is this eighth night when we have a full Hanukkah and the 8 candles, it is meant to sort of point us towards infinity, right? That's what the number 8 represents in Jewish traditions. Beyond the completion of 7, it's like what endures, you know, what we can sort of glimpse beyond ourselves and beyond what is. And, you know, I think for me, you know, you're someone who has that kind of double vision of being able to see what is, right? To wake up on Kibbutz Keturah and say, gosh, it's very sunny here. There's a lot of sun, right? Just noticing what is, but also seeing beyond what is and, you know, certainly beyond the darkness of this moment to what's possible and what's beyond where we are right now. So thank you for that kavanah for this 8th night, and let's light. I invite the cacophony of any of the ridiculous singing together on Zoom if you want to join in the brachot. But kulanu or itam, we're all a big light together. Whoop, that just blew out my own point. Try that again. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu le'aseh Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa ניסים לאבותינו בימים בזמן Hanukkah Sameach. Thank you so much.